Good morning. A couple guitars we're going to look at. I don't know if we're going to do two or three. We'll find out. We're going to do two at least. Number one guitar, 1938 D18. 1938 D18. This is the second one of the collection. The first one that I reviewed a little while ago was a rear X, 1938 D18. This one is a forward X. That means that the X is about 1 inch from the sound hole. So I stick my little finger in here, and X is right there. The other one was more like about right here. So this is a forward X, 1938, wide neck, D18. This is the epitome of a pre-war D18. The only way this guitar could be more of a pre-war D18 would be if it was sunburst. But we got in a hand finally. A little bit of a journey to get this one, at least for the owner, not my guitar. So let's take a quick look at the overall details here. Okay, here's your headstock. There's your decal. Take a good look at the decal. The headstock is really dark on this too. Good looking dark headstock. Here's the tuners. These are Grovers. They say Grovers. Yeah, and again, we're into the tuner esoterica. These are a lot nicer tuners than I was looking at on the 50s. They look original. Again, I'm not up on the tuners that much. I do not have the time or patience to memorize all the tuner details. I'm just looking through this thing right now to see what I see. And also, keep in mind that when I'm looking at this, I'm looking at this as a player more than a collector. So I'm not looking necessarily for whether every single little detail is original. I'm just looking to see if it is aesthetic to the guitar. So if these are replacement tuners, at least they're not Grover Rotomatics. If this neck has been refinished, it's a good job. If the back has been oversprayed, it's a good job. I'm looking for stuff like that. Stuff that keeps the aesthetic of the guitar. And so the neck back here, not got a lot of wear on it, and makes me wonder if it was oversprayed at some point or another. But if it was, it's a good job. It's a thin finish. It's not real thick. There's just not any wear. There's some dings and stuff, but there's not the kind of finger wear, fret wear, thumb wear on the side of the neck here that I would expect from a 1938 D18. Might not have been played all that much. Anyway, the neck looks good. I measured it, and it is actually one of the thinnest necks that I have measured up here at the first fret. It's noticeably thinner up here at the first to the second fret than the other 1938. I'll throw the chart up here after this so you can see how the neck depth compares to a couple of other guitars, like especially my 1937 Authentic, which would be the comparable guitar to this. It was interesting because when I shaved the neck on the 37 Authentic, the model that I had was a 43. I think it was a 43 triple out 18. All I knew, it had a really good neck profile, so I used that. And then when I finally got the other 38 in, it was a little bit fatter up here. It was a little fatter up on the shaft. So they were about the same at the first fret. And I thinned mine a little bit more than the 38 was. But it turns out that it's almost exactly the same as just this 38. So it's like that other 38 was fatter up in here, and this one is thinner. And my 37 Authentic that I shaved came in to match both of those. So mine's fatter in the first fret, which matches the other guitar, and then becomes thinner up here, which matches this guitar. So the one that I shaved, the 37 Authentic, starts at this one and then crosses over to this one. So, I felt pretty good about that after I measured this guitar. And I said, so I did a pretty good job on the Authentic, because it could match either one of those guitars, and there's some variability going on here. Anyway, all right, so how's the nut look? I believe the nut has been replaced. I'm fairly in fact, the nut has been replaced. And part of the reason I know is bone. It's got that consistent look that I talked about last time. I don't see the striations that ivory has. The other thing that I noticed about it, I played it a little bit, you know, before I came out here. And what I noticed is the nut spacing here. This is not a bad thing. But if you look at the distance here on the E's, this nut spacing is a little bit narrower than it could possibly be. So in other words, whoever did this nut did not maximize the spacing for the neck. And that's not a bad thing. The reason it's not a bad thing is because when you go to fret up here, there is a lot of fingerboard on the outside edge of this note, and so it feels like this one. So in other words, if you fretted in the middle here, you have lots of fingerboard on either side, and it's a solid platform. If you push the E too close to the edge, your finger kind of comes off the edge a little bit. It rocks back and forth. But if you pull the E's in just a little bit, your finger has a nice solid platform, and it effectively reduces the fingering width on a wider neck, and it's just a little bit easier on your fingers. And I know I played this guitar for an hour last night, and it was really comfortable. Even though at first, when I first picked it up, felt that neck, and I go, I don't know about this, you know. But then as I played it more, it's just like, you know, it was a non-issue. And it's, again, we just keep coming back to that with the profile of the neck is good. The depth is less important because, you know, you think about it, you rarely play like this, you know, unless you're playing rock and roll and you're playing bar chords. And in that case, just thinner neck is kind of handy. What you're really doing is putting your thumb up here on the V. And that's why the V is so important on this thing, for me, okay, for me. Anyway, doing this spacing in just a little bit more on a 1 3/4 inch neck is not really a bad deal. So it plays really good. We're going to move our way down there here. So the nut's been replaced. It's a bone nut. It's a good job. Let's see what the spacing looks like, because you guys know how picky I am about that. And it looks pretty good. I mean, just looking at it, the space between these two and this pair, it might even be more on this side. I don't know. We're going to find out. But it looks like equal spacing. So we got 260, which is what I told you on the other video. I said I shoot for 257. I shoot for 257 on a 1 11/16 inch neck, and I shoot for about 265 on a 1 3/4. So this is 260. So see, it's closer to an 11/16 inch spacing. So there's a little bit more this time, a little bit more. 262. Yeah, 262. 252. 262. 255. And 250. I would rather see that than the E and the A closer. So I've got a lot of space over here between the E and the A. 262. And then we have 255 and 265. All I have to do is move that D string over just a little bit. And if I look at the groove here, the groove is worn a little bit this direction. The D string wants to keep moving over this direction. And all you have to do is move that D string over just a little bit, and you have really good spacing on this nut. And I just know when I was playing it, the spacing did not bother me at all. We've got lots of space between the E and the A, and that's what's good. Move that D string over about 5/1000ths of an inch, which is not much. Piece of cake. I don't think I'm going to do anything to the nut. I might take care of that, that issue. The nut spacing, the nut height. I'm fretting between the second and the third, and it's clear. Nut height is great. I'm not going to do anything to that nut. I might replace it. It's possible I might replace it with some some mammoth ivory, some fossil mammoth ivory, just to make it possibly more authentic, but there's nothing wrong with it. There's nothing wrong with it. The frets felt really good to me. I mean, they're not full height, I don't think, but they did not feel, yeah, 35 thousandths of an inch. So, you know, that's acceptable. Stock Martin frets. Martin frets would be 0.37 when they were brand new. You're going to lose a little bit with dressing, and so 35 is not bad. The reason I say stock Martin frets is because I use Jescar frets. When I refret, I use the Jescar 4380s. And so I was trying to think of it, 8043 or 4380. 4380. They are 43 thousandths of an inch tall rather than 37, so they're 5 thousandths of an inch taller. That's what I refret with, Jescar 4380s. And they make a 37 too, but I like the 43 because it's just you know, I like it. Okay. But these are really close to stock Martin frets, so these frets are great. I don't see any reason to replace them. I mean, I'm sure it's been refretted at some point. There's no way in the world these are the original frets. Let's get up the neck here and take a look at these frets. The reason you look at these, they're less likely to have been leveled. And yeah, see, you get 37 on that. So, you know, these are full height frets. Nothing wrong with the frets. The action. I was playing it, and the action felt pretty good. Pretty good. I was going to guess it was probably pretty close to 93 thousandths. Let's look at the neck relief first. Got a fret right here at the first fret. Fret right here at the first fret. Fret up here at the 13th. And just kind of look at it at the 6th. And man, it's great. Neck relief is terrific. It looks like about 4 thousandths of an inch or so. I mean, it looks good. It's 90 thousandths of an inch. Take a look at the action. 93. A little over 90. A little bit over 90. Just a little bit high in the middle, but nothing I couldn't play. And a lot of that is because the neck relief was flat. So in the middle of the neck, it plays great. When you get up into the 12th and 14th, it's just tiny, tiny bit high. But I believe me, I was not complaining at all. There's 84. Yeah, so it's going down on the treble. Beautiful. There's nothing wrong with the action. I wouldn't mess with the action too much if I did. All right, now we get to the first problem. Now we're starting to get into the problem area. So our tuners are good, our nuts good, frets are good, the neck relief is good, the neck is good. We're done with the neck for right now. First thing I notice up here, looking at this very carefully, is there are cracks alongside the fingerboard, and I have not stuck a mirror in here yet. And we're going to do that right now. Let's go look at these cracks on the fingerboard. I got to talk to Wooford and find out what camera he uses, because I was watching some of his videos, and he's good. I like Wooford. I like his approach. I like his stuff. His camera really does some good close-ups. He must be using a camera, camera type video. I'm just using a GoPro here. But man, I really admired his close-ups. Right here, a little bit of a crack alongside that fingerboard. Right here, you can see it, especially. And over here, hard to get on camera, but it is underneath that fingerboard right there. Let's see if I can get that. Anyway, I can see it, and I did have to look at it pretty good. So I can see finger cracks going alongside the fingerboard, and I'm a little concerned about that. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take my naphtha and make sure I got a paper towel around here, ready to wipe it up. Squirt a little of that on there. Let's see if it goes through. And then if it does, we're going to have to deal with it. And again, I have not stuck a mirror in this thing. So we're going to explore this together, see what we find. Grab a dye towel. There's a full towel. There we go. This naphtha won't hurt the finish. It's good for cleaning it. But again, you just don't want to leave it on there for very long. I mean, you don't want to leave it on there for an hour. But it's good for cleaning, and it really goes in, penetrates good. So, all right, here we go. First exploration with the mirror. I'm going to take a look, and then we'll stick the camera down in there. And we got cracks. What the heck? Okay, well, this is good news and bad news. I got to check the specs on this. It has a popsicle brace. That's what I was saying. It's got a popsicle brace. And I'll have to check the specs for 38 to see if it's supposed to have a popsicle brace or not. This one looks really thick. I really think maybe that brace has been added. You'll see it when I put the camera in here. We have cracks on both sides of the fingerboards. So they're not bad. I mean, what I mean by they're not bad is it hasn't slipped into the body yet. But I can see it. Yeah, it's diving a little bit right here, just a little. We're gonna have to deal with that one way or the other. All right, here we go. I'm gonna look at the back end of it. See what we find. Wow, the scalloping is not as aggressive as I thought it might be. That looks that looks very, very much like what I do on 70s, as a matter of fact. Wow. I've seen much, much more aggressive scalloping. Probably why the top is in such good shape. And the tone bars, yeah, they're pretty scalloped. There's some clamp marks where somebody's clamp probably had a loose brace. Bridge plate is original, and it is like paper thin. The ball ends all look really good on it. They're all sitting really nice. Whoever strung this up did a good job of stringing it. So I got cracks up here that may or may not be a problem. I'm just identifying them, you know. The naphtha is going through, so they're not sealed. And, you know, they kind of bother me a little bit. This is kind of the same situation as the 42 had, where I haven't really done anything with it yet. But we're probably going to deal with it, and here's why we're going to deal with it. Because it's probably going to need a neck reset. And here's why it's going to need a neck reset. Let's come over here and look at the saddle. Now, the action was good, remember? I said the action was good, but look at the saddle. The saddle is almost non-existent. When you come up over here, look at the high E string. It is hardly even making contact. Look at that. It's just sliding back and forth. The B string slides back and forth. The G string slides back. They all slide back and forth, especially the low E. I don't think the low E is even touching the saddle. So that's not good, you know. The action is good, but that saddle height is just not good at all. Now, what was funny, when I was playing it last night, and you're gonna hear it on the thing, and it's the same situation as the 1945 that I reviewed last week or whenever, where the saddle is so low that the strings are just buzzing off of it, and it's just not a good tone, you know. So it really needs a neck reset, and we don't want to give it too much of a neck reset because I don't want a super high saddle. But this saddle is probably 60 thousandths of an inch, maybe. Yeah, 60 thousandths of an inch. And the other reason I know that is because if you don't have a saddle in here at all, the low Easter will come off the bridge by about 60 thousandths of an inch. And the fact that this thing is not even just touching, but it is still barely touching. So that's why I had that estimate. 60 thousandths of an inch. Now, I compared that to my 1937 Authentic because it has a low saddle too, but it has lots of bite. And this guitar has almost no bite. Let's look at it again. See, the string coming off of here is coming off almost flat and not having, look at the D string. There's no bite whatsoever on this. The string is clear back here. And so it's got this big gap right here. It's almost like this bridge was never ramped. You know? So I compared it to my 37 Authentic because I thought, what's the difference here? The 37 Authentic saddle is about 90 thousandths of an inch, which is only 30 thousandths of an inch taller than that. And it's got monster, I mean, it's got ferocious bite. The 53 that we're going to look at in a bit has a low saddle, but it's got tremendous bite. And clearly on the 53, you're going to see there's ramped farther. The ramp is the slot coming up towards the saddle. So you got a slot which the strings fit in, and then the ramp is the thing that goes towards the saddle. Sorry. And this is like it's not even ramped at all. It made me wonder if this is a replacement bridge. And I don't know. I don't know the specs. I'm just looking at this thing cold. It's really clean. You know, there's no wear over here. There's no wear anywhere. But then there wasn't any wear on the back of the neck. And there's not much wear on the top either. So is it a replacement bridge? You can see just a little bit of bare wood right here. If you look really, really close, you can see a little bit of bare wood. It might be a replacement bridge. It would not surprise me if this was a T.J. Thompson bridge, because I have a T.J. Thompson bridge right here, and this is one that I went and exchanged. If you watched my other video on the graduated spacing on the 1938 bridge, I said I'm going to send that one back to TJ and see if he'll exchange it for one that is non-slotted and non-drilled. And so he graciously did that. So looking at this TJ bridge, which is really nice, you know, and I told him it was for 1938, late 1938, and if he thought that a 1940s profile was better than the early 30s, then send me what he thought was appropriate. What I'm talking about on the profile is the curve on the back right here. The early 30s have the pinholes, and the top starts sloping almost immediately, about a little bit back, but slopes much, much more. Then late 38, and then into the 40s, it's more flat with the curve happening more to the back. That makes for a heavier bridge, a little bit stiffer bridge, whatever, you know. So I look at this and I see, first of all, it's got the same slope as this. It curves back here. This one's not quite as polished and refined as TJ's bridge. I bet this is a replacement bridge. I can see just a little bit of wood on the side. If it's a replacement bridge, it's really good. But it made me suspicious that maybe they didn't ramp it, or maybe the distance from the saddle to the pins was a little bit more and more like a modern bridge. But I don't see any evidence of that on the inside. I'm not positive this is, I'm not positive this is a replacement bridge. Not positive. One thing we're going to look at right here is whether or not, real quickly, are the holes graduated? Do the holes have more distance between this side and that side? I've got to take it. I've got to do some stuff to really figure that out. But real quickly, let's just measure the distance in between the pins here. So 175, and it doesn't go in here. $160. Looking at it off the top, it looks like there might be a little bit more space here than here. But I don't know. I'm going to have to investigate that a little bit further. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my transfer punch. I'm going to take the strings off, the pins out, and I'm going to take a piece of scrap wood and I'm going to hold it up with the jack underneath there, and then I'm going to punch through the bridge and the top and everything and get some transfer holes and then measure the transfer holes. So on this bridge, I cannot tell you for certain whether it's an original or a replacement. If it's a replacement, it's a very, very good replacement. It's really good. It's a T.J. Thompson. It's a John Arnold quality. It's a very good bridge. Guys that are really, really expert could probably tell you for sure. It seems like the replacement bridges that I've seen pictures of from John and from TJ and from Jim Baggett are really, really shiny. And I'm surprised they shine them that much, because I tend to not. I tend to leave them more of a natural wood, which this looks like. But if they know more about what they should really look like than I do, which they probably, I know they do, they might be making a more accurate replica. But their bridges that I've seen are really shiny. And this one looks more like a natural wood. TJ's bridge is a little bit more shiny. Not shiny, but polished. The grain is so tight on TJ's bridge here. That's what I'm looking at, is the grain. And the grain's a little bit looser in this. I don't know. I don't know about the bridge. But it does not, it's not a 70s bridge. It's not oversized. I don't think it's a Stu McDonald bridge. The slot looks really good. The slot's ending at the right spot. Here's the one thing on the 30s. The saddle slot is narrow. It's not a 93. It's more an 80. More like about an 80. So let's see what we got here on this saddle. And we got a 92. But no, it's a little under 90. Yeah, the saddle itself is varying quite a bit. It's about 86 over there. And I'm getting about 100 over here. I'm getting 92. The reason I'm bringing all the bridge stuff up is because I wondered if the pinholes were back just a little bit further than they should have been. I didn't see a difference when I looked at the 37 authentic. It looked like it was up there pretty close. They looked like they were the same, and it looked like it was just a matter of ramping. All right. Point is, I think it's going to have a neck reset, because we want to get more saddle. We want to see about 125 thousandths of an inch, and we're looking at 60 thousandths of an inch. So we need to raise the saddle by 60 thousandths of an inch. It's a 1-to-3 ratio from here to the bottom of the heel. So 60 thousandths of an inch taller on the saddle is 20 thousandths of an inch on the bottom of the heel. And that's a mild neck reset, but it is a neck reset. So in other words, one of my other neck reset videos, I talked about that. I said the only reason for that number is to tell me in my mind, what kind of neck reset am I looking at? And if I take 20 thousandths off the heel, then it's a mild neck reset, but it needs it. 10 thousandths of an inch is like, you know, 10 thousandths, maybe you don't need it right now. If you could just make an adjustment, you would adjust it. 10 thousandths is so borderline, but 20 thousandths is a mild neck reset. 35 thousandths of an inch is pretty typical for what I do on 70s Martins, and there's no question it needs a neck reset at 35 thousandths off the back of the heel. And when you go past 35, I've done a few that are 50 and 60, and those are dramatic neck resets where the strings are half an inch off the fingerboard and all of that stuff. So when you get to 20 thousandths of an inch on this, you know, there's no getting around it. I mean, it's a mild neck reset needed. And this is going to bump into the bridge here, which it does. It should be kissing the top of that bridge. It's not. So it needs a neck reset. Let's see how tall the bridge is. If it's a real vintage, it ought to be about 320 to 340 and about 280 to 300. Pretty sure that's what TJ's is. 330. 335. So get off of the saddle. Go off the saddle. 260, nah, 265. So the specs are right for the original bridge. I see a little bit of wood around here, but that doesn't mean anything. It could mean that the bridge came off at one point and was re-glued. So who knows? I don't know. Looks good. Here's the top. The finish is spectacular. Makes you wonder if it was oversprayed and polished at some point, because it's got that little bit of a modern shiny look to it. But if you look at it, you don't see any. I'm trying to get the light. Watch the light. You don't see any blotchy spots, which is typical when you overspray. But right up in here, it's so shiny. It makes me wonder if it's had a light overspray. You can see the cracks here. Finish cracks as we go across the top. There we go. You can see the finish cracks. Those look good, but they're not spiderweb like that. So if it has been refinished or oversprayed, again, it was a really, really good job. Real thin, not thick, not globby, nothing. Got the typical pickguard crack, which I'm not even worried about. Let's see about that cupping. I remember looking at the 45 and I showed some cupping. And this has got a little bit of cupping here. Not terrible, but I can feel a little bit. Yeah, there's some cupping. Pickguard shrunk and it's pulling the top end right there. Take my 3/1000 of an inch feeler gauge. And let's just explore and see if pickguard's coming off at all. Slight crack around that. See, this one's not going in. If you remember watching my 45, I was able to push the feeler gauge in instantly, you know. This one's not. So this pickguard is stuck on there pretty good. I'm probably not going to take this pickguard off. Probably not. Probably do more damage than I would solve, because I'd break the finish and that kind of thing. It is a 1938. Not going to get worse tomorrow. It's got a little bit of cup going on there. The top belly is tremendously good. Not much belly at all across the top here. Let's take a shoot this one. Lay it across the top. Balance it out here. And you're clearing the edge. It's got the belly right here because my yardstick wants to go this way. I'm having to actually force it to balance it here. But that's what the top distortion looks like. Not bad. The hump is right here. Got a little bit of a hump. I don't think I've ever seen a Forward X original that didn't have some. when I looked at Charles Sawtell's, what was his D28? 37, I believe. 36, 37, I don't remember. There's a Forward X D28. Man, it had a monster hump back here. I mean, it went like this. Whoa! His whole bridge was leaning forward 20, 30 degrees. And, yeah, that's the way it is. So, this one looks really good, you know. When you hear it, when you hear it and you hear the looseness of the thing, that's due to that top distortion. If it didn't have this loose top like this, it would not sound half as good as this. Okay, so the back, pretty much the same as the rest of the guitar. It's very, very clean. Let's turn the light off. It's very, very clean. You got a little bit of buckle rash. This has not been a professional bluegrass road musician's guitar. The back of this is so clean that, again, it's either been extremely well cared for, not played really all that much either, or it has been oversprayed at some distant point in its life. And honestly, I don't care. It's a good job. It looks good, and it's not excessive. It's not a super thick finish. So I really don't care whether it's been oversprayed or not. I'm not the collector. I'm not looking at this from a Jim Baggett standpoint, where he's on antique road shows, telling you whether or not this thing goes in a museum. I'm not at that point on this guitar. I'm just looking at this from pure practical player's point of view. And I have seen bad refinishes where I would say, oh gosh, I feel like that super thick refinish is holding this guitar back. I don't think that at all on this guitar. If it has been refinished or overspread, hadn't been a refinish. No, it's not a refinish. It maybe some overspray, but yeah, I'm not even concerned about it. It's got the appropriate wear on. It's got some pickguard marks here. It's a fabulous 1938 D18. I mean, there's no question. There's no significant. There's no top cracks. I was going to say significant, but there's not any insignificant ones except for the fingerboard, and there's nothing you could have done about that, But regardless, it has a popsicle brace in it. It's got fingerboard cracks. It needs a neck reset. That's it. I mean, that's it. This is one of the better ones that we've had in, as far as my point of view, because the nut's good, reasonably good, The frets are good. The tuners are nice. They work good. Everything's seated inside the bridge. The bridge looks really good. It's not coming out. Bracing looks great. Shoot. All thing it needs is neck reset. And take a look at those popsicle brace cracks. All right, well, I have the strings off and everything. I'm going to talk about the graduated pinhole spacing. I tried to use a piece of wood like this on the jack, and the problem is that one of my punches, the punch I used on the bridge, wouldn't go through because those holes are tapered. So when they get down to the bridge plate, they're tighter than they are up at the top, and that punch would not fit through to punch this piece of wood. I'm absolutely not going to force anything on this paper thin bridge plate, obviously. So I stopped, and my next smaller size punch is too loose. It's wobbling. So it's a waste of time trying to do that. I tried doing pencil lines, and they're just not accurate enough. I mean, you can see that this one is not a full circle, and this one only got half the circle, and these two didn't even get a circle, even though I thought I was scribing. Problem is now I've taken this out and I've lost my measurements. So that's a bust. I tried putting the original 38 bridge over it. That looks okay. But again, you're looking at graduated holes, and so you can skeet that back and forth and you can make it fit. There's no good way to do this without having that bridge in hand off. So I did do this. I measured in between the holes just to see. So I just stuck this up here, and I'm getting this in there as deep as I can to get the sides of the holes. I'm getting 250, 248, 238, 228, you know, 218. So, look, you know, you can draw a conclusion about that. It's not a good measurement, but those numbers are going down as it goes across. I think it's got graduated holes. I think that's an original bridge. I think that's an original bridge. Boy, it's an extremely good copy. So, that's the difficulty of trying to get the graduated holes. You know, if I didn't have the other one, to where I was pretty confident, you know, having that bridge off and being able to make the very presses and all that kind of thing, but I really spent a lot of time with the bridge in my hand. If I hadn't had that opportunity, I would not be as confident that these holes were graduated. So if this was all I had, man, that's tricky. I'd have to really get a transfer punch that fit very exactly. You know, I'd have to get a machinist set of transfer punches where I had increments in every thousandth of an inch or whatever machinists do, rather than a set from Harbor Freight, which makes pretty big jumps. So I think it's a good looking bridge. Let's put it this way. If this was my bridge, one that I had built, that I'm going to build, I'd be pretty happy with it. Might not be original, but it's pretty good. Pretty good. You can hear the snowplow out there. We got about 6 inches of snow last night, and anyway, I'm stringing this guitar up. I'm gonna take it in and play it. Okay, I'm back. Been out shoveling snow, got that taken care of. Got another guitar here. This is 1953 Martin D18. I don't know how many times I called that 38 a D28, and it's probably because I was hung up on the 8 part of it. You know, 38, trying to remember that. Anyways, D18 day. It's always D18 day here. 1953 D18. Now, in 1953, there were several possibilities of guitars. You could have had one with a Sitka spruce T-bar. You could have had one with a Sitka spruce ebony bar. You could have had one with the mystery wood, which is Engelmann or German, possibly. We know Engelmann, possibly German. Mystery top T-bar, mystery top ebony bar. 4, possibly 6 combinations of 1953s. In 1953, in that period of time, Martin moved the X-brace way back here. So if you remember on the 38 that we just looked at, I was able to, this first joint hit the X-brace. On here, holy cow, I got my whole pinky in there. My whole pinky to get that X-brace. So let's see. Yeah, about right there. Wow. Way back there, not scalloped, not tapered, straight braces. Far rear X-brace. This is going to be 50s. Mid-50s are going to be the most nasally, brightest, cutting Martins ever made. This particular guitar is a Sitka spruce top T-bar. We know it's a T-bar because all you got to do is get a magnet out, and you don't even have to have a fancy luthier's magnet. You can, look at my flashlight. My little Nebo flashlight's got a magnet. It's kind of a weak magnet, but you can kind of feel it. But here's a good strong magnet. Boom, see? I had a bigger one of these in the house that I tested on. So there we go. T-bar, truss rod. It has what looks like the original tuners, and these are Clousons. These are the closed back Clousons with round washers, which I like. I like the round washers. Now you can see on this neck what I was talking about on the 38. This neck has got play wear on it, and you can look down here and you can see the play wear that's on this neck. Perfectly typical, and it's got a little bit of a matte finish on it. It's got a ding here that goes clear to the wood, and you look at this neck and you go, yeah, that's the original finish. There's no way this has been refinished. Whereas on the 38, I'm like, sure it's clean, but beyond the point. Okay, so the nut, ivory, you can see the striations in it. There's no shims under it. Doesn't look like it's ever been off. Or if it has, they put it back on really nice. Nut height is really good. Might be just a tiny bit low, but it's okay. In other words, it does touch the fret, but I think it just barely touches it. Nut spacing, it's going to be wonky. Yeah, I can clearly see a big gap between that D and the G. So again, if I was setting this nut up, it would be 257. And this is 220. 237. 260. 257. There's a 257. Yay! 1 out of 5 ain't bad. And 270. God, all over the place, isn't it? 222. 236. 260. 257. And 270. Wow. I mean, there's nothing consistent about that. This guitar played 100% better for me with a better nut on there. The neck on this guitar is the thinnest Martin neck I have ever measured, front to back. Front to back. It's thinner than the 41 Authentic. Thinner than the D28 41 Authentic. It comes up to about a normal thickness up here. It matches the 41. It matches several other guitars once it gets up past about the 2nd, 3rd fret. But up here, it is skinny. Well, that's the way it is. I mean, there's nothing I'm going to do about that. But I'm just commenting on it. That, man, it's a skinny neck. If you can get used to this, then you can get used to the 41 Authentic. The frets look like they're okay. They're a little bit flat-topped. There's some wear on them. The height looks decent. I'm going to guess 35. 35 thousandths. Look at that. 34. And that's good. That's just like I said. On the 38, if these are Martin frets, they start at 37 thousandths of an inch. And they're 35 up in here. So the frets are in pretty good shape. There's a couple that are worn. I would probably, only the first 3. I'd probably replace the first 5. And get a good crown on them. And then the rest of them are good. So I wouldn't be, that's not critical. Let's look at the neck relief. Gonna hold it down here again. Check this. Golly, neck's almost dead flat. It might be backbowed. If I have a guitar like that has really good relief, I don't even bother to check the fingerboard because there's virtually no way that the fingerboard can have a lot of bow and the fret relief be that flat. You would have to have really super tall frets in the middle, and you don't because I measured a couple of frets and they were all about the same height off the fingerboard. So, I don't even bother checking that with this notched edge here. Somebody said, what's this for? Well, it's in case you want to take another look at something, you see. So let's say I want to look at the fingerboard itself to see what's going on. And again, the Chinese ones, or the ones you get on eBay, or somebody gave me one, has got one more notch so that it measures all the way to here, which is really nice because that's where a lot of rise happens, right in the first fret area. So you look at this thing, and that fingerboard is just almost dead flat. Great. So fingerboard's great shape. Frets are not really a big concern. It actually felt pretty good when I was playing it. I didn't have a whole lot of problem. I bet it was pretty close to 90 thousandths, 93 thousandths. It's a little high. Just a little high. It's because of that flat fingerboard that makes it, yeah, it's 102 thousandths rather than 93. But I didn't notice it when I was playing it because this flat fingerboard makes it so nice up here in the mid-range that higher action up here didn't really bother me. But 102, wow, we could drop a little bit. Let's see what we got over here, though. I'm just sliding 90 thousandths across. And 90 is clearing on everything. The B is 90, and then the high E is less than that. So the action is a little bit high, but it's doable because of that flat relief. Now when we get down to the saddle here, the saddle is okay. There's our saddle height. And what I was talking about again on that 38, is look at the amount of bite. Even though the saddle height is low, it's got tremendous bite here on the low E string and A string. See, it's got, man, it's, you know, there's no danger of that slipping, even though it's a low saddle. Let's see, check saddle height. I bet it's 80 thousandths, something like that. Oh, that's better than that. It's 105. So, you know. Yeah, 105. That's not bad. On 100. Perfect would be 125. You know, that's okay. It's acceptable. Acceptable. I wouldn't rush into a neck reset on this guitar right away. The bridge is stuck on. Yeah, there's no use even getting a feel gauge. That's stuck on there really good. It's a Brazilian rosewood bridge. Brazilian rosewood fingerboard, which is really, really dark. A lot of you are probably going to mistake that for ebony, but if you look at it real close, the grain is different and you can see it in there. It's a Brazilian rosewood fingerboard, Brazilian rosewood bridge. The pins look good. The bridge is definitely slotted. Somebody might have enlarged that slot and ramped it just a little bit more aggressively, which is okay, you know. There's nothing wrong with doing that. You know, you can reverse it if you want to. So on the whole, this guitar is pretty good. This is probably the best one. Construction-wise, we want to take a look. Any popsicle brace cracks? Let's do that before we flip it around. I don't see any. A little bit of separation here on the rosette, but nothing bad. So let's put some naphtha in there. Let's see if we got any cracks in here. I don't think we do. I'll be surprised if we do, but we might. Sometimes these cracks hide underneath the fingerboard. Sometimes they hide underneath the fingerboard and you don't see them until you throw the naphtha in there. Certainly cleans the grime off the top. I have not been inside this guitar yet, again, so here we go. We're exploring together. It's good. Yeah, I look at the popsicle brace on this one and compare it in your head to the one on the 38. This brace is so much more svelte. I don't know how to pronounce it. S-V-E-L-T-E? Or is it L first? You know what I mean. Slimmer. Slimmer. Let's see what we got up under here. Take a look at the bridge plate. Bridge plate looks good. The ball ends are seated really well. Whoever strung this guitar up did it right. Ball ends are not sinking into there. These are non-slotted pins. Everything looks great. Braces are straight braces. Man, there's a lot of brace in there compared to the 38. Compared to the 45s even. A lot of brace. And because that X is so far back, the bridge plate is tiny. It's tiny. I've got some templates down here, and my 53, 55 bridge plates are like this big, and the 30s are this big. I mean, they're big. So pickguard's got a little bit of cupping, and that's so typical. So typical. Yeah, a little bit of cup. Got a bit of cup going on there. But B-string crack, not a big deal. Let's see if it wants to pull up. 3/1000 of an inch. Yeah. Pickguard wants to come up. Probably loosen this pickguard up, re-glue it, just to relieve that pressure. Some people think this pressure makes it sound better. I forgot who said that. Stutman, maybe. Maybe it was Stutman. It was somebody who knew what they were talking about. You know, it wasn't just, man, some of those Luthery videos you see on YouTube or something else. The reels, especially. Some of the reels I watch, and I just go, oh, God. But they probably watch mine too. Do the same thing. But somebody said that they thought, they wondered if this didn't provide tension and make it sound a little bit better. Yeah, I don't know. I don't want to crack the top for that. This guy's got his strings wound in the locking method, which I absolutely cannot stand. Over and under. One over and one or two under, and that's it. You don't have to lock them in there and tie them in knots and all that kind of thing. But everybody does it the way they're going to do it. So. Whatever. Gonna go take a look inside. Non-slotted ebony pins. That's a good choice. Good choice for this guitar. So far, this guitar has been the best one we've looked at. It's got the least problems. Doesn't really need an neck reset. I said 5 frets. 5 frets and a new nut. Yeah. I mean, that's probably all I would do, and there's really no hurry on that even, you know. This is not one that I'm probably going to play a lot because I don't bond with this guitar like I did some of the other ones. It's a good guitar, but it's not. I didn't bond with it. I like a couple of 40s better because they have better necks for me mostly. This neck is just too slim for me to like bond with. So I'm probably not going to play this one much. So I'm not in any hurry to do the frets and nut on this one. We'll get to it one of these days. Much more important to get this 38, that other 38, the 38 rear X. More important to get that up and running. Here we go.